And I ended up being owning 4% market share in this coin when it launched because I sent $100. And in 2 weeks, that became $250,000.
That's crazy.
So what happened was it kept rallying in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
It went up to a $350 million market cap, and I'm one of the original from zero.
That's crazy.
Dude.
And you have 4%.
But with the tax you have in your hand, you can see there that my first year, I think in profit, I made about 7,000 something bucks. If you look at the next tax report after that year, I think I lost like 18,000 bucks, in net losses.
70 Bitcoin to half of
And
Bitcoin.
this is 2018. Price of Bitcoin went down into like 8,000 or something. So this was probably around $10,000 per Bitcoin, which I had been buying all the way back down. So giving back almost all my gains.
Oh.
Like I asked someone recently, like, oh, why don't you show your account number? Well, my off-stream trading doesn't really represent the type of trading I want to show people.
I love that,
Which
dude.
is facts.
It's facts, but you shouldn't be like that.
And I feel that too. I sometimes will take a trade off screen.
100%,
and I
we
do
all
not
will.
want to admit it.
Of course,
I don't
want
to tell
but
anybody.
That's what I'm saying. We don't want to do that. Since 2017. It's very
Yeah, my whole thing's radical transparency.
Okay.
It's funny though because also I like the anonymity and staying private.
Yeah.
But when it comes to my trading and being online, I think the radical transparency is so important nowadays.
I agree.
When everything can be faked.
I agree.
Yeah.
So this is a first for the podcast, like I said, bro, to have someone come in, not just into the studio, because we do a lot of these podcasts live, but to come in with the tax returns since 2017, everybody. So we're going to start the podcast right here, bro, because I think this is, I know you don't want to flex, but it is a flex to come in and show your trading P&L through real tax returns to come on the day trading show. So Luna,
Word.
I appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Austin.
Dude,
Yeah.
so for everybody that doesn't know Luna, he's streaming every day on YouTube. I'm going to link all his stuff below so you can check him out. But Luna actually lives in Gainesville. So we were able to make this happen before I leave Florida and before you leave Florida, because you also live in Costa Rica, correct?
Correct.
So we'll get into all that because I want to hear about the why Costa Rica. But for the people that maybe don't know you, talk to us a little bit about how you got into trading. I know you through the futures, prop trading, and live streaming, but I know it started for you in crypto.
Correct. So I got into Bitcoin in 2017, and that's really where my actual experience trading started. However, I have a little bit of experience from my childhood. In middle school, I was in the stock market club. And my memories of middle school and stuff, maybe that was only a month long or 2 months, but I have the memory of seeing these large P&Ls, paper trading. And of course, we're buying Coca-Cola and Microsoft and whatever, and having no clue. I remember sitting with a few other kids at the computer, one of these original Macs. I don't remember what they're called.
They were, I know
I
what you're
think
talking
that's what
about.
we had in
the
that
ones
lab.
that were bulky.
Yep.
Yeah.
The bubble ones.
Yeah.
And I just remember sitting around and we had a portfolio, and maybe it started that way. I don't really remember, but it was millions of dollars. And of course, stock market's going up and we're watching it. And this is in early 2000s.
Wow. So that was the first exposure, really?
Yes.
Some guys will say oh, I took my bar mitzvah money or my dad invested for me. But your exposure comes from public school. So shout out to public school.
Yep. And it wasn't the nicest of schools or anything like that.
But
I think
still,
I
to have
got
a stock
lucky.
market
Yeah.
club, that's pretty sick.
Yep.
So that exposes you to that. Come back to 2017, you get into crypto. What sucked you into crypto in 2017?
Reading the Satoshi's white paper.
Oh, so you actually read the white
paper.
paper.
The privacy advocacy behind Bitcoin, cutting out the middleman, being in control of your own finances, being in control of your life. I've always been into sustainability. How can, growing your own food. Right after high school, I went and worked at a farm, volunteer woofing in Maine. Well, MOFGA, Maine
What is
Organic.
woofing?
Woofing is World Organic Farmers something, and that is where you go to a farm to volunteer and they give you exchange of room and board and you get an experience.
So what were you doing? Literally shoveling cow shit?
Yeah, waking up at 4 a.m. to prepare for farmer's market. And once the season started picking up, we'd stay up late drinking Pabst to get ready for the next day. We were doing hard farm labor in Maine at a small organic farm. I think 6 acres of vegetables with 8 of us.
Wow.
And not all 8 of us on the fields.
Still, though.
Yep. And so before that, I had experience in that. My dad had a pecan farm, and I worked at a horse ranch, and I always kind of did manual labor. I like working with my hands. I worked at a palm tree nursery, a horse ranch in high school, stuff like that.
So I see now what you're saying. There was something in the technology of Bitcoin that really struck a chord for you through your entire childhood, basically.
Yes, and so I've always kind of had an entrepreneur mindset. All this kind of weaves together, and I kind of like to go on these rants a little bit. But so when I was a kid, I always was like business minded. Like I got this toy where you put in money and it counts your money for you, and I love that type of stuff. I would
still remember it.
Oh yeah, I would save my birthday money and hide it in a book. And my parents would joke that like everyone would be working for me one day. I don't know if it's because I was a bossy jerk or what it was. Maybe just because I had that mindset.
Yeah.
We'd play Legos and I'd have a little business. I'd be like, I'm the hot dog stand. Come buy hot dogs.
See?
Give me
So
your
it's
money.
in you, bro. So you have that same like entrepreneurial background too.
Yeah.
So you take the holistic and self-sustaining mindset, mix it with the entrepreneur stuff, and then show that kind of person Bitcoin, they fall in love. Traders, real quick, a pause from today's podcast to thank our first sponsor, Top One Futures. You've probably heard about them by now. Top One has been a sponsor of this show for over 2 years. We've got a link in the description that's going to save you over 35% on any challenge with Top One Futures. Just use the code ASFX and that'll save you the biggest discount that they're offering at the time of you watching this. Big shout out to Clay for being here and also for helping us make this podcast happen. A big thank you to our second sponsor, TradeZella. If you're not tracking your trades, you're falling behind. I can save you on the monthly plan and the yearly plan, whichever works better for you, but we would highly recommend that you start tracking your trades today using TradeZella. I'm a big fan of Umar. They have been nothing but supportive and helpful to me and my community. So we want to save you guys money and we want to get you tracking today. Use the link in the description and you will be able to save either 10% or 20% on your monthly or yearly plan. Now let's get back to the podcast.
And so getting further there, or going back from my childhood to 2017, when I was actually, I think I was 17. Maybe I should say I'm 18. I don't know. But I had my college money from my grandpa, which was, guess how much it was?
$10,000.
$1,800.
$1,800.
So really, that's going to help me go to college. I obviously didn't go to college with
That'll buy you a couple
$1,800.
of books.
But so what I did do is I figured out I could call the bank, and I don't remember, maybe I was 18, but I told them I was 18 at least. And I got that, the stocks, my grandpa gave it to me in GM shares. I got him to release it through the bank phone call. I mean, this is a while ago now. I'm in my mid 30s, and they gave me the money. They sold the stocks for me, and I took that money in my bank account, and I made it real.
No signature, no nothing.
Nope, on the phone.
Wow.
I don't, maybe they had me come in there, but I remember calling, not thinking it was going to work, and I got that $1,800.
What did you do with the $1,800?
I don't know.
Can't remember.
I mean, I didn't have any money. That was, if I was 18 by then, that was around the end of high school. And I ended up going to Peru for 3 months.
Oh, nice.
Just on an adventure. And that might have been that money. I literally had a few $1,000s. It was after I went.
$1,800 will go far in Peru.
Yep. Oh yeah. I made it work.
Yeah.
And this was after working in Maine at the vegetable farm. And this was after high school. And I went to Peru for like 3 months, somehow survived. I know, though, I've always had the support of my family, and I have to give them thanks to my parents because I always felt that freedom, that I knew I had that to fall back on. Not that they're like very wealthy or anything.
But that's huge, bro.
But just
Doesn't matter how
knowing
much
that,
money.
if I didn't have a plane ticket, they would have bought me a flight. So I know I'm privileged in that way, to be able to go on an adventure like that with no money. But I was hitchhiking, sneaking onto farms and camping in the middle of Peru and places I didn't know where I was.
So even though you had the safety net, you didn't take it for granted. You still went out and you were like, I'm going to go almost use that as like it's like risk reward in a trade. You're looking at it like, I have something that'll catch me if I fall, so I'm going to go all in and try to really maximize this opportunity.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that comes into my trading, that type of like, I don't know, I guess it's just high risk taking. And so then, I don't know if I was getting anywhere with that, but then getting to 2017, I read the Satoshi's white paper.
Who introduced you to the white paper? How'd you find it?
You know what? To be honest, I don't really remember.
Okay, but you remember reading the white paper and it stuck.
I remember sitting with my friend Dillard, come Dizza.
Okay.
And we were reading the white paper, and I remember looking at with him, at least talking to him about it, and just thinking it was a revolutionary technology. And that's what got me into Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was around 200 at the time.
Wow.
I didn't go all in Bitcoin at $200 or anything like that. But then that was before 2017. And then come 2017, I saw Bitcoin had crossed $1,000. And that was my sign to start buying.
So you didn't do anything from 200 to 1,000?
No.
Were you studying at that time? You were like, okay, I like the white paper. Let me go find more information, or no?
Nope. I was running my food truck at that point.
Oh, okay.
For about
So you were
3
busy.
years. And I was working literally 18 hours a day. I'd wake up at 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning to make tortillas. We made everything from scratch.
What were you selling?
It was like California cuisine.
That's cool.
Chef was like a fine dining French.
Food truck's great business, but hard business because the hours.
I could have done well with it. It was right before food trucks picked up. I got inspired by food trucks in Austin, Texas, like Eastside Kings and certain places that were starting to get recognized. But it was before the big boom. If I had done that and moved to like a good city or something, I think I would have had 5 restaurants by now. I watched my friends who had food trucks and do that. But
really,
but that was after my food truck. But I ran my food truck for like 3 years. You know, it was the classic stuff. I was like not as healthy as I should be. A little too much alcohol and all this stuff, staying up late, and then at the end of the week, being lucky for me to cover $500.
Right.
You know, literally after expenses.
Right.
So I ended up getting lucky. I sold the food truck for what I invested into it, which was a nice truck, and got my money back for that while scraping by. And but so that was around that time, and I started buying Bitcoin. Like we're literally talking like $200 from my food truck tips or whatever, you know, and slowly buying it on Coinbase. Really simple. Even though I believed in the technology, I was just buying a little bit at a time and but exploring the technology, getting a hardware wallet, even though I only had my $500 or whatever. But with the tax that you have in your hand, you can see there that my first year, I think in profit, I made about 7,000 something bucks. I remember my account hitting 20K. Like when I tell the story, I was at 20K, but that's probably after everything I'd put in it. And as Bitcoin was going up, I put more and more money into it. So at the end of 2017, I had made some profit. And then right when it was like peaking, I was actually, I had just started visiting Costa Rica, and I was thinking about moving there. And I remember the moment seeing Bitcoin hit 20,000, or it was around 20,000, and it was like at the very end of 2017, maybe it was like 18,000, but I watched it spiking, and then it would go down a few $1,000. And I made a few flips. You know, I sold, and then I bought it back, and then I sold it again. And so that was when the itch kind of struck of trading. And then what really happened, this is one of my big gains and losses all at once, is that in 2018, I think it was the beginning of 2018, right after the Bitcoin high, ZCL, this dude Rhett, I forget his name, had a coin Z Classic, and it was about to do a fork. And this was when I was getting into crypto and wanting to try everything. So ICOs were coming out. I'm thinking they're all the next Bitcoin. You know, losing all that money I'd made. If you look at the next tax report after that year, I think I'd lost like 18,000 bucks, you know, in net losses. And so, but meanwhile, I'm holding core positions and starting to trade. And so that's always been part of my trading since then, is that holding a core position, putting on the gas as the market's going, putting on the brakes as it's decelerating, essentially, you know, with the market, and either going with the market or putting on the brakes, exiting some of my positions, hedging off. So I started, I remember seeing that this coin was going to fork into Bitcoin private, and I thought it was going to be the next Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin plus privacy. Wow, it's going to be huge, right? And so the months leading up to that fork, it went up more than like 100x. I remember seeing in my account that I had 50 Bitcoin. If we look back at the number, I remember it was below $2, and then it went up to like maybe $200, $180 for ZCL. So that was like my first like 100x. And guess what? It went all the way back down because I wanted to wait for the fork. You know, it's the classic buy the rumor, sell the news type of thing. So when the fork actually happened, the coin was almost all the way back. So I don't remember if I made half a Bitcoin or if I had half a Bitcoin of the coin at the end, and maybe less of that was profit. It's probably the case, actually. But so maybe I made a few $1,000 or something when at one moment I watched my portfolio worth 50 Bitcoin on that one trade. And actually at the peak, it was probably more like 70 Bitcoin.
70 Bitcoin to half a Bitcoin.
And this is 2018. Price of Bitcoin went down into like 8,000 or something. So this was probably around $10,000 per Bitcoin, which I had been buying all the way back down. So giving back almost all my gains.
Oh.
And then I watched this 100x, and I wasn't even home. Like at the peak of it, I remember wanting to sell, and I was in LA, and I couldn't even sell it. It was on a computer wallet.
So what are the big lessons from that stick with you today? Because I'm sure, like, even hearing you tell the story, it stung, and it stung for a while.
I mean, I don't remember feeling a lesson in it. It was more of an experience.
So you didn't learn, like, I shouldn't be greedy, I need to take profits?
I don't remember. You got
to think that's crazy, though, right?
Yeah.
Just to now look back and be like, no, I don't know. Like, in some ways, that speaks to what you just said about you like risk, right? So to you, it's like, yeah, but that's normal.
That sparks something.
People, right? But to some people, they'd hear that and they'd be like, how did he go from zero basically to 50 or 70 Bitcoin and not take anything off the table? That's crazy.
I was at home. That's literally how.
So like, okay, maybe distracted trading, right? Like it's not you got to care about these investments even if they are small, because look at how quickly they can grow.
Yep. But to me, I really think that was the experience of seeing more of the potential, like, and it was cool because I got into Bitcoin without ever having an expectation of that money.
No, and then it showed you, wow.
And later, which I'll get into this, that paid off. That type of attitude has paid off throughout crypto because I tried everything. I was in DeFi summer. I was doing all the yield farming, 50,000% API. Sure, let's put 10 ETH in that.
That's crazy.
And then I'm pulling out an ETH every hour and waking up.
50,000 AP, like per year?
Yeah.
Wow.
That would last like 2 nights.
And then they would lower it.
Yeah. So
wow.
we could get into, I mean, DeFi summer
What
could
year
have a
was
whole
DeFi
podcast
summer?
on that. End of 2020, 2021, or 2021, I guess.
It.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think it started in 2020, but
Yeah,
2021.
so you mentioned the tax return, so let me just share this with everybody. So he's got a couple of folders here, right? And this is the first time anyone's ever done this on the podcast, like I said. Showed up 2017, 75.80, like you said, profitable. 2018, negative 18.5, like you just said. Now we're going to get into 2020, 31,000. Now that's DeFi summer.
Yep.
2020
No,
tax.
yeah, I think 2021. I'm
2021,
really bad.
$40,000 profit, 2021. And then 2023, $279,593 profit.
Yep.
So, bro, to go from 7,000, negative 20, and then claw your way up only over 5 years, very impressive,
And
bro.
I didn't have money saved.
Right.
I've
It's not
always
like
reinvested my money in
So-
my food truck and in stuff like this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's super impressive. And I really appreciate you bringing those because I think it makes the audience see even more how much you put transparency at the front of what you're doing. Yeah. Can we pause the timeline for a second?
Yes.
Why are you streaming and trading and sharing all of this now? If you've made good money in crypto, you clearly know what you're doing and you know how to go make more money. What made you want to share this journey and start your streaming and start doing prop firms? Why step into that creator role in the trading space?
Well, really, I have to give thanks to other people who are already doing it. Like, really, my biggest influence was Rips.
Shout out Rips.
Yep, selling Rips of the Market Clubhouse. But really what got me, that's what led me to streaming. But what got me into the futures was that I wanted it to be consistent. So this was like, these are actually humble. When you divide that out among that time and realize that that was my primary income, I didn't have a tech job. I didn't go to school. But I learned I could live off of that 40 grand a year. And travel and do things, living very simply. But I'm also like kind of an adventurer like that. You know, I don't need much.
Right.
So I wanted to make it real, and I realized I like did my food truck, and I probably like on paper I made a little bit, but for the time I lost money.
Okay.
My record label I lost money.
Okay.
You know, maybe there's times where I made a little bit, but not really with the
Right.
time put into it and living that as my life.
Right.
But so with crypto, I realized I was actually making money. And so I started to start a new business. I'm also a mycologist. I went and did a workshop thing with Paul Stamets way back in the day before he was
mushroom
famous.
man.
Yep. And so I got certified for building commercial mushroom farms and things like that. And had that experience. And that's what I always thought maybe one day I'd start a mushroom farm and do commercial mushroom production. But that was kind of in the past. And then, so I wanted to start building that. So I had one of my best years there that you just said, 2023, which was kind of a fluke, the majority of that money.
Really?
Some of that money was like more my normal 30,000, 40,000-ish. And the rest of it was a fluke on one coin. We can get into that. I made like 250K on one trade. Well, maybe that's like the peak of it. And when I actually got all of it out, and when I sold it all, it was probably a little less than that.
Wow.
But so I wanted to make it my profession. I wanted trading to become my profession because I realized it actually already was, and I was in denial about it. I didn't tell people I traded. If you talk to me about crypto, like any other crypto bro, I will talk to you about crypto. Like we can talk for days about crypto.
But trading, you were kind of like, ugh, I don't want to like take ownership for this. Is that what you're saying?
No. In general, I didn't like to talk about it.
Okay.
Like once you open that.
Why?
Box,
Because
you know,
people either think you're super rich or you're super poor.
Yeah, and it's just an awkward conversation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. People don't take you seriously when you say you're a trader. And this was before like 2020. And 2020, people became day traders. And it was like suddenly okay to talk about it. And in the same time, not. Because suddenly you are like Wall Street Bets Reddit trader.
Exactly.
You know?
GameStop, YOLO guy.
So it was like,
Right.
it's getting more popular. I'm like, oh, wait, no, this is a bad thing. Let's go back to when it wasn't popular. How about that?
Right. Okay. And I think also for you, probably it's hard to identify as just a day trader because I'm sure the listeners here, we're like, 20 minutes into this thing, bro? And it's like, look at all the different things you've said you've done. The mushrooms, the record label, the food truck, so many different things, which I take as a lesson because it's like a good reminder to not just be identifying with your trader self. Your trader identity is not who you are as a person. You know, you want to speak on that?
I think that's huge, and it probably goes into like my biggest struggles with trading. I know we're going all over the place.
Okay.
I didn't even really answer your last question.
No, it's okay.
But I feel like for me, my hardest challenges with actually like locking in and taking trading seriously is the psychology part. And it's just like running a business. And I was listening to one of your last episodes, and it seems like a link between traders is entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And that you need to treat it like a business and stuff. And actually, what was your main question just now?
Well, now you got me thinking about the entrepreneurship. It's okay. We're all over the place, but it's okay.
Yeah.
The listeners know we bounce.
Yeah.
Why don't we back up to the timeline? Because you just mentioned a huge trade in the year that you made 280 grand.
Yeah.
250 of it comes from one coin, you said?
Yeah. So
Was that another forking thing? You got to remember, I'm stupid with crypto, so the audience is going to be like, oh, Austin doesn't know what the fuck a fork is. I don't really understand what a fork is. I understand trading like you understand it on the future side. So maybe explain the 250K trade.
I think it would do it injustice without finishing the timeline a little bit.
Okay, let's finish the timeline, then we'll come back to the trade.
So I started in 2018. I gave back most of those gains,
Okay.
but I always maintain a small portfolio. So like the taxes is like what's taxable income.
Sure.
Meanwhile, sometimes there's positions I'm holding
Right.
and building a portfolio. So
Sure.
I remember my portfolio hitting these key moments where I knew I could do it. Like seeing that big win that went up 50 Bitcoin or whatever and back down 100x, let's just call it. I think it was technically more than that. When it came back down, I saw the opportunity there.
So it was like
seeing
kind of like
Bitcoin
kicking
go
the
from-
door open.
Exactly. Seeing Bitcoin go from 200 to 1,000, I saw the opportunity. Instead of buying a house, which I did, I could have bought Bitcoin.
Now you're sounding like a maxi.
Yes.
Are you a
And-
maxi? Would you say you're a Bitcoin
Oh
maximalist?
no, it's all scams pump the hardest. It's all a scam. That's my crypto mentality.
Really? So you're taking advantage of scams?
Well, I mean, I'm using that term as a joke. I'm
Sure.
being like,
Shit coins.
Yeah.
You're taking advantage of shitty coins that probably never have utility?
willing to trade anything, and it's a joke. So the joke is, yes, I'm a Bitcoin maxi. That's why I got into trading and everything. I believe in the Bitcoin. So I said the Satoshi white paper is one of the first things I brought up. But when it came to me holding it, I've never been like, I'm all in and then I move on to the next thing. I follow my dreams. I follow my passions. Like I will sell all my Bitcoin to start the food truck. I will do this to do that.
Got
you know?
it. Okay.
Just like right now, I'm going all in on my streaming and
Right.
my podcast.
Right.
You know, or whatever, my day trading
Yeah,
thing, and
yeah.
going in all in on futures.
Right.
Which I really want to get to that.
Yeah.
So it's like I started growing my portfolio. I remember these landmarks hitting 35K for some reason. I remember that being a moment of me trading back from that big loss year of 2018. 2019 was also net loss, but I had made it back kind of. You know, like I was steadily, I remember being on a roll with some coins. I remember trading Feathercoin, FTC. While it was going down, I was making money longing. So I always spot longed crypto. I wasn't trading leverage. Leverage got me wrecked.
Right.
I was anti-day trader. No leverage, spot only, buy the dip,
Interesting.
sell the rip, right? And I'd sell on the way up and partial it out.
Okay.
Few people I followed, I want to give shout out to, like Altcoin Sherpa, Crypto Creds free day trading TA course on YouTube, and Don Alt Crypto. There's certain people I kind of followed and were inspired by, but I was really doing my own trades and everything. Never followed people's trades. I mean, I've tried stuff like that, of course, but like never
works.
worked doing that. 2019, I was like, I got this, swing trading. However, it would be deceitful to say that also my core positions sometimes were what was maybe more profitable in the long run. You know,
Which would be
holding
like
a little
what, holding a
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin?
Yeah. So 2020, 2021, I tried everything. DeFi summer. I got the Uniswap airdrop. I was early to everything in crypto pretty much. To me, I felt like I was late.
Right, because you're in it.
And now as I say that, it's like my day trading lately. I enter a trade and I'm like slightly early and the timing is so important.
It is.
And I want to enter a trade and I feel like I'm too late, but it was really just the beginning of the move. And so all of these types of lessons I feel like can be put into my day trading now. And so I started building up my portfolio. I followed some people online who were right ahead of me. I remember seeing Rookie XBT, random shout out there, which I haven't even followed him at all anymore. But he inspired me. I saw him hit his like 6-figure portfolio and then he became like multimillionaire. And I was right behind him following along. You know, I remember hitting 75K in my portfolio. I remember cracking 100K. You know, and so these years I'm holding a core portfolio. And then we come to one of my biggest real losses in, what was it? End of 2020 or beginning of 2021. I had just moved to Costa Rica. I was trading full time without that much money, considering I had just moved out of the country, but I had just sold my house.
Okay.
So, which I had sold for like double what I bought it for.
Nice.
You know,
You
I
made some
bought
money.
it in the early 2000s, sold it in late 2000s.
Nice.
You know.
Yeah.
So, a little come up on that. Moved to Costa Rica, but not a plan, no career, no anything. I'm gonna build a business there. I want to grow
Just
cacao,
adventurer Luna.
coffee.
Yeah, just doing his thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same old, same old.
Yeah.
And so I was building my portfolio up, and I had just moved to Costa Rica. I was getting established on my land, planting fruit trees, taking money out to live, like I always have with my portfolio. That's the other thing. I've always taken profit. So I had just taken out a big chunk, like I forget, 30 to 50K. And the other big chunk of my portfolio, I had random bags, but I had like 40 to 45K in FTX in my futures.
Really?
Side. They had perpetual futures contracts.
Right.
And I normally kept my portfolio, the classic crypto pyramid upside down of like shitcoin to Bitcoin, you know, high risk to low risk, percentages of your portfolio. I forget who would post that back in the day. Probably Kobe, you know, Cobain, or someone posted that back in the day. And so I always followed that basic principle, core positions in large caps, and I'd rebalance my portfolio. So what happened though, I'd withdrawn the main part of my portfolio, which was in like Coinbase, and I left my futures there, which had been doing well. But I didn't rebalance my portfolio. Market's ripping. That's why I was able to take out those payouts to myself from my personal account to move to Costa Rica and everything. And then I take a high risk trade. Like I'm risking more. It's like one of my A+ setups. Market's ripping, but my collateral's in Solana. My collateral for my FTX account is all in Solana, which I held. Actually, shout out to that trade from under $2 up to $200.
Wow.
One of my best trades.
Wow.
Selling it on the way up and not always in the full position, you know, and I've always kind of been like that, in and out a little bit, recycling
Still
shares or lots or whatever you want to call it, coins. And so I only have that futures account, and I get in this position. It was like one of the Solana shit coins. Before they were Solana shit coins, it was like an FTX coin.
Really?
You know, it wasn't really a Solana coin, but it was heavily associated with FTX. And I actually don't remember what it was. I almost want to say it was actually, maybe it was a DeFi coin like Maker, but I think it was one of the FTX coins.
Okay.
And I long this while the market's ripping, higher position size than normal. And this is leverage, which I normally don't trade. And the market tanks. And because my collateral is in Solana, I was pretty much double leveraged because that coin was like exactly correlated with Solana, which is generally altcoins and Bitcoin. You know, we traded altcoins to get more Bitcoin at first.
Right.
That's all it was.
Right.
Now we trade them all to get USD. At least that's what I do.
Right.
I want money.
Right.
And so I nuked that portfolio in one trade. It didn't even hit my stop loss. I've always had a stop loss and a TP or multiple TPs, holding a runner too. I have to hold a little bit on the side. And that trade never hit my stop loss, but you know what happened? I got liquidated.
Wow.
The rest of my portfolio right after I moved to Costa Rica.
Did you take
with
a
no
break
money.
from trading after that? Did you have to step away for a second of like, what did I just do?
About a day or two.
That's it. You can't keep the man away.
Dude,
Wow.
you got to stay in those trenches. Once
So
you're
what
in
did you
there.
do? Like, how do you?
So
before we talk about the lesson of that, how do you bounce back from that? Like right away, like
Good
2-day
sushi.
break and then you just go back into it.
Sushi.
That's
Take
the answer.
Sushi.
Are you being funny?
Don't look at the dollar cost of the, you know, get the Otoro, get the sake,
fancy stuff.
get what you want, and don't think about the money. Have that mindset, a different mindset. It's not that I was like thinking about, I'm going to make so much money, but just not being attached to money.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've kind of always had this balance of like thinking about money while not being attached to it. And so it took me about 2 weeks. I went outside on my farm and I thought about my life really hard. And I was like, well, what does this mean? What does this mean for my life? And I realized that that's not who I am. I'm not my money. I can't take that with me. And I was like, what's the worst that could happen? Well, I just sacrificed the last like many years of my life to make it work so I could move to Costa Rica. What could happen here? An earthquake could like swallow my farm, you know, or I could get like deported or something, whatever. I don't know. And I could lose this. And guess what? I didn't have this 5 years ago. I would be fine without this. I realized I'd be fine without material possessions. That's not what makes me who I am. You know, and it took me about 2 weeks to get over that loss, but I actually started trading pretty quick. And so my cryptos always had these ups and downs. And like after that loss, I pulled together random, you know, I had like maybe a Trezor wallet and some NFTs and whatever. I've done everything crypto. I sold it all and I ended up with about 12K.
Okay.
And I ran that back up to 6 figures.
Really? How long did that take you?
That's when I knew I was like, that's when my confidence as a trader has stuck with me for better or for worse. Like, because right now I've been eating it hard trying to trade futures and prop firms. I'm down like 20K
Really?
in futures accounts. But so I ate it. Those losses, or no, so then running back that account after that big
So you
loss,
take the 12K.
there's like no coming back from that. I know I can do it.
Right, because once
know,
you
in a
lose,
good way.
and you make, you lose, you saw unrealized gains, you realize some, the whole journey. You finally have this one moment where you go from 12K back to over 6 figures in capital in your own portfolio. You're living in Costa Rica, and you're like, I can do this no matter what. You could take it away from me again, because it's been so many of these. You just have that, base level of confidence now that's high enough to make you feel like this is what I do.
Yeah.
Do you think the ownership level for you being a trader changed over that time, and you started to take more ownership of like, this is what I do now?
Yep, around that time.
Yeah.
And I'd always been active on Twitter I had an old username that I actually had like a bit of followers for someone anonymous, like, a couple thousand. And it got linked to my Instagram. I don't know how that happened. There was like a moment where that happened and I deleted it. And I had all my trades on there since 2017.
Oh, that sucks.
And now I wish I didn't, because now, I'm doxxed anyways now. So it doesn't, but.
So we run it back up to 6 figures.
And,
when does futures trading come into this? Because now this is you're in Costa Rica, right? Did you find futures trading while in Costa Rica?
So yes. So and I had heard about it. Shout out Levi Zion. He does. He's been having viral videos lately of him juggling a fireball, a soccer ball
I haven't seen
on
that.
fire. So if you see that, that's my boy Levi.
Okay.
And he's been helping me with my channel, and he's the one who also pushed me to do my channel. Also, shout out Kami Capital, pushed me to do my channel in the very beginning, one of my first subscribers.
Nice.
And he said, keep it up.
Nice.
But so what happened was I started focusing on my farm in Costa Rica. I'm wanting to grow coffee, cacao, exotic fruits. I have more than 90 varieties of fruit trees. I collect fruit trees from all over the world and plant them there. And starting my gourmet mushroom farm, because Costa Rica doesn't have any chef sampler pack of gourmet mushrooms or anything like that. So I'm like, I want to be the first one in the stores here. So I'm there to focus on my business. I'm literally in farmer's market, sweating in Costa Rica, not making any money, spending a couple thousand over my gains a month at that point, trying to start my business,
Yeah.
And I end up hitting, but meanwhile, I've always stayed in crypto, I've always traded on the side. Some of my good trading has happened on the beach, on a restaurant, while my significant other, while my girlfriend is like wanting me to spend time with them, all like I've just somehow always stayed glued to my crypto portfolio behind the snes.
Can't take the man out of the game.
And so meanwhile, I'm running my business, and I'm like on Twitter. I have my connections. There's a guy on there who had like 1,000 subscribers at the time, who I'd followed for a while. He was an artist, and he was making a ChatGPT AI coin. Like he told ChatGPT to make a meme coin. And of course, he's like started with $69, and the first liquidity pool ate it in fees, and he was done. And ChatGPT told him to crowdsource it, so I sent $100, and there's like literally like 8 people replying to this post. So I think like 8 of us sent in, and now I'm forgetting the number, maybe it was 1,600 total. And I end up being owning 4% market share in this coin when it launched, because I sent $100, and in 2 weeks that became $250,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How did you feel when they inevitably, it dropped, I would assume, right? You cashed out and it dropped.
Yep. So people are calling me. I'm in a couple little groups. I'm in a Telegram group with other people trading meme stocks and stuff, or meme coins.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, though, I wasn't really focused on my crypto at that time. But I always stayed in the game, and I got airdrops along the way. I had some good wins. So it's like those taxes, some of that money is getting lucky.
Sure.
I got the Uniswap airdrop. I think I sold it for like 12K. Right after it launched, it was worth like 40K at one point. Then it went down. And so I'm sitting at the farmer's market. I remember. And I respond to this tweet, and I end up just sending $100 from my ETH wallet, without even thinking about it. That's how I was with crypto. I'd buy an NFT.
Right.
I'd like the artist. I'll spend $500 on that NFT. I've embarrassingly spent way too much on other NFTs, but like $12,000, $15,000.
Yo, that's crazy.
I'm still
on
holding,
a JPEG.
buddy.
Oh my God, he's still
We're
got
gonna
the
make
JPEG.
it. If you don't sell, you don't lose.
That should be the next T-shirt.
So what happened there was I suddenly had my biggest win of my life from $100 investment.
Literally $100 to $250,000.
That in 2 weeks.
In 2
I was
weeks.
on. It was like, I don't know. I felt like I was on the best drug ever. Like I was on cloud 9 for 2 weeks. I'm calling my mom, trying to like keep my nerves down while trying to level-headedly play this position.
Because you're in a position, you're watching it day over day, just keep going up,
that's,
up.
That's it's not actualized until we sell it.
Of course.
And I'd already learned that lesson
from the earlier one with the
50
75 Bitcoin back to half a Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so maybe that all connects there.
See, there it
takes
is, bro.
time.
That is the lesson right there,
Yeah.
right? Because then look, you take profit on this thing and the thing dumps, right?
Yep. Different types of tuition. And so this coin's going up. So first things first, I take out my initial investment.
Okay.
And then I see it's like up $1,000. I took out $100.
Okay.
Which at that point, what that would have been was probably like $1 million. If I'd held that original part I sold to the top, that's not how it works in trading.
Not how
you
it
can't
works.
do that.
Right.
Sometimes, but
Sometimes.
you get lucky though. So what happened was it kept rallying in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
It went up to a $350 million market cap, and I'm one of the original from zero.
That's crazy.
Dude.
And you have 4%.
Yeah, in the beginning, but quickly shedding it off. I had people who followed me, shout out to trader buddies. I don't know how to put this in words the best right now, how to articulate it, but I had people checking in with me who saw that had happened, on Twitter and stuff, DMing me, trying to just make sure, checking in with me. How are you doing? Oh, you should sell. I had people telling me to dump it all. They're like, hey, you're one of the original holders. When you sell it, you have to sell it all at once.
Right.
Unsolicited financial advice there. And I said, no, I'm good. I sold off 10% every big push. About, more or less. A few times I bought some back in, but we're talking like an ETH or something. And this is when, I'd already cashed out 100 ETH from that position or something. So It's rallying, and I'm selling into each push per fractions of my holdings. At the end of it, I think I took around 250. I held like 12K down. And if I had held it all to the top, it would have been millions of dollars. Whatever, 4% of 350,000.
Wow.
I mean, 350 million.
Yeah, wow.
So, so at that moment was when I actually was like, I need to do this. Why am I sitting at the farmer's market trying to sell? Literally, I had like lettuce and stuff. Like I sold out at the farmer's market, and I might still lose money if I count it in my hours of farming. Farming does not make good money.
No, it doesn't.
And so I'm like in denial about like what is the thing. And meanwhile, I loved crypto so much and trading that I did it no matter what. I did it even when I lost 40 grand. I did it. I remember buying with all the money I had left when I had just moved to Costa Rica right when COVID hit. I alled in at $5,000 Bitcoin when it crashed March 12th. Everything was crashing.
Right. Oil was zero
and
or
people
negative.
were like, should I buy Bitcoin? I'm like, you should probably buy oil, but I'm buying Bitcoin. I alled in Bitcoin at 5,000. And that was one of my great trades too. I held that up. I sold it on the way up, just like I always do. Mm-hmm. Maybe kept a little bit. And it went down to like 3,800, I think, on that dip in March. And I had already alled in at 5. So I watched that go almost 50% down.
Yeah.
But then in like 2 weeks later,
You'll
it's
go
like
200%
way
up.
I was great.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll take big drawdowns, but you'll take even bigger on the upside. So before we got to go to the futures trading.
Okay.
This is all
We're just about there.
We're almost there. What are the positions you're doing today in crypto?
Same. So actually, inspired by my futures trading, I started a crypto channel where I trade now a live portfolio, real money. I'm just doing it on one exchange, and I got sponsored. Shout out 3 Commas. And so I had used them for my swing trading for a long time. So my bread and butter with crypto had been the swing trades and also using grid bots, which I would use as a hedged long position using 3 Commas. So it's pretty much spacing out orders on a grid every % up and every % down. So it's selling on the way up.
Different sizes?
And then it buys back on the grid when it goes back down.
Sure.
So
Different sizes on the grid? Like all?
Nope, all the same size, the way I do it.
Okay.
And I consider a hedged long position. Normally people do it for going sideways, but I actually would do it when I want it to long and be hands off. Sells on the way up, buys on the way down.
Sure.
Set a wide range with a little bit of capital, and it's like a chill hedged position.
Sure.
If it goes sideways, you start collecting some money. So I wanted to take my I wanted to take my trading seriously. I realized I am a trader. This is how I've made all my money. Even if some of them were getting lucky, I stuck through it. And my friend Levi had told me about prop firms. And he's like, dude, you got to do it. I'm like, dude, that's a scam. Like, I had already put crypto into things before that said they were mining and giving me returns. And it was just like a Ponzi thing.
Coming from the guy that's trading shit coins to call prop firms a scam is funny.
Yeah, well,
that's the perspective at first for a lot of people. Dude, a lot of people come into prop firms.
And I will call every coin a scam. I'll call like Bitcoin a scam as a joke, just to keep this mentality that's not real unless I take it in my bank account.
Makes sense.
So it's more of it's a joke. I don't really mean it's a scam.
Of course.
And so my friend was telling me about futures, and what I realized was that through my journey of crypto trading, that I couldn't, I'm at a point in my life now where I'm seeking consistency, and what's a better word for it?
Longevity?
Stability.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about my future, if I want to have
volatility.
kids,
Yeah.
if I'm going to get married,
Right.
like things like that.
Right.
And how could I have my crypto be my main job when I've gone through those types of swings? How could I put that on another person?
It's true.
Too.
It's fair.
Which I already had. And I felt so bad about certain times I neglected my relationships because of trading.
Right.
So that was suddenly the futures and the prop firms clicked for me as this is what I need to do. I need to close my positions at the end of the day. I sucked at day trading crypto. I didn't think it was even possible. But for some reason, when my friend Levi had told me about prop firms, I suddenly knew, I thought that was the way. I started researching. I found Selling Rips, shout out, and joined the Market Clubhouse. And for about 6 months, blew, like, so at that point, one trade in my portfolio was like maybe $500 to $1,000. And in general, when I was like trading well, I might only risk point something % of my portfolio.
Right.
Of actual risk.
Right.
You know, so depending at that moment, depending what size my portfolio was, maybe I'm risking $100, maybe I'm risking $1,000. But so in my mind, I'm like, oh, $1,000 could be like one trade. So that's like 20 combines.
Basically.
And
So
that
you must
did
have
not
gone,
work.
right, I was going to say, you went through a lot of them at first.
15K later. And then I get on the phone with Rips.
Okay.
You know, I got on the phone with Rips twice. A couple of things he told me just have stuck with me.
Like what?
And just
Tell
really
us.
going slow. So there's actually like a few takeaways that sometimes I shout out from those conversations with him. But one of them was like not rushing to payouts, letting it just like you just glide in. Like you're just trading normally and you get there because of your good discipline, because you trade right. You're not forcing it to happen. It should just happen naturally, which I've seen him do it so many times. He's trading an account that's already passed.
Right.
And he's like, oh, shoot, that one's already passed. But that's kind of the mentality.
Right.
And so, but that did help me stop blowing combines. And I realized that like those, like $15,000, losing it was the same thing as making it. Like in businesses, I had realized that like there's always that balance of expenses, you know, and costs. So I decided to take it seriously. And that's when I started making trade recaps and trying to be accountable within the Market Clubhouse group that Rips has, a private group, paid Discord. So I was investing in my futures at that point. I'm paying for the Market Clubhouse. You know, I just joined. I was willing. I'm like, take my money. I want to be in a group here. This is what I want to follow. I was watching Top Step TV, trading bell to bell. Suddenly, I'm a full-time futures trader, just blowing accounts. And so I decided to take it seriously. And that's
You know
what,
how many people in the audience can relate to that? Sorry to cut you off. A lot of
many.
the audience. Too many, I'm
Too many.
sure. Yes.
And that's why I think I'm one of the better, like, unprofitable futures traders right now, because I'm getting to the point now where I'm consistent, even though I know I'm net positive. I know I'm net negative. And so I started documenting and I really liked it. And I also realized the potential of building a business out of my YouTube channel. And it was something I had already bought stuff in. I had made a few crypto videos before that I never really put out. And I had a gimbal and I was kind of thinking about starting YouTube for my farm. And then I started making these recaps and I was so hooked and inspired by Rips mostly. And then I started posting videos and Cammy Cap got in my DMs and he said, keep doing it. And I'll always shout him out for that.
That's awesome.
And just support. He didn't tell me how to trade.
No.
Rips didn't tell me how to trade.
Right.
People in my chat like to tell me how to trade.
Of course. The peanut gallery always is the loudest.
But the good traders don't tell me how to trade.
No.
It's kind of interesting.
But the good traders also encourage you to document, to share, to stream, right? Like I have so many, you know, you've been brought into my circle of people. Like everybody I know is now streaming and sharing their trading because I think it actually makes you a better trader. I think I've gotten better the more I share. So talk to us about prop firms, specifics. Let's go into some of like, what was the first prop firm you started? You said Top Step already, but I know you trade with everybody. Top One Futures, Tradeify, My Funded Futures, right? Can you give us some insights as of today, at least, who you really like, who you don't kind of like?
Yep. So right now I am trading with Top Step. Those accounts I've almost had the longest. I have one
saw since
from
September.
September last year.
Of course, just so everybody knows, Luna sent me not only the tax returns, he sent me a bunch of screenshots of all his stats. 60% win rate is usually where you're at.
Yep.
And I saw you had that XFA since September.
Yep.
That's impressive.
I have an Apex account from June last year.
Wow. That's a
But
year.
is that a flex or not? Because both of those accounts that we were talking about haven't taken a payout.
Ugh.
But so that's what I kind of dedicated myself to was consistency because my plan is to trade in my personal accounts. I have a futures account with Thinkorswim. I have a Trade of 8 personal account too. I've done a few contracts here and there, but I'm just focused on the prop firms. And because if I can't do it in the prop firms, why would I be able to do it in my personal account?
I agree with that.
And even if there are different limitations with prop firms, I should be able to work around those.
Yeah.
So I like the loosest rules that are more the least rules the better. I like end of day drawdown is a big thing for my strategy. I get like one of my biggest downfalls has been like I'll trade consistently. In the beginning, I'd build up XFAs or whatever for weeks, having thousands of dollars in it, sometimes able to take payouts and not. And then blowing it all in one day, going on tilt. And a lot of times right before the payout, right before passing an account, like the amount of times I've been within under $100 from passing an account and blown it, $7 away and blown it.
Oh.
And that's my own psychology and stuff. And that's why I think I always focus on longer term positions and swing trading. And I've done some stocks and stuff too. Not good at futures. I can show you my Robinhood account for transparency there. It went like this. back down like halfway below what I had been building for like a year in stocks.
So it's the tilt that plagues you.
Yes, and still to this day, I think even leading up to this to coming on this podcast with you, I had an account that was $300 away from payout the other day. I was up 70 on the day. I'd taken my one trade and I broke my rule. I took another trade, added to it to try to get that 300, and took a $700 loss.
Hey, at least it was only 700, not the whole account.
Yes, and which was my rule, $600 max, a little bit more, broke my rule a little bit. But then, of course, the last few days, I would have had a payout if I'd stuck with it.
Of course.
I'd been trading this week. I had a hard week, and then I had a really good
But it goes
last
to
few
what Rip
days.
said, like run through the finish line. Don't stop right before. Don't even worry about it,
Exactly.
Because, I mean, at a 60% win rate, bro, you're an ideal candidate for someone that can take payouts, I think. I think it's harder to take payouts in prop trading for guys with a lower risk reward, especially if they have the intraday trailing drawdown. Those accounts, it's very tough. So you mentioned the end of day trailing drawdown. What else are you liking? Are you doing more of the copy trading? Are you doing the instant funded stuff? Like what account types?
These questions are hard for me because it's always been changing. And I know with trading, and that's something I'm finding right now, like one of those accounts I sent you is like this, it almost looks like it's going up.
Okay.
I might have another one that's slightly going down though too. So it's like certain strategies work for a while and then they don't. And it's like same thing with my crypto. I might be negative for a year and then really good 1 year.
Right.
And in the end, it's paid me to stick with it.
Sure.
So right now with prop firms, I've been trying different strategies on different accounts. Like I recently, like 90% off Apex. Okay, sure. Let's buy 20 accounts and try different strategies. I like copied some SMB scalping strategies that they had on their YouTube channel. And I even like waded through, I like signed up on one of the things to get the like PDF, and I'm trying different strategies on certain accounts. So it's always changing. If I'm doing good, I start to copy trade again. So my best months, I was actually taking one trade a day and following my plan, which other people were making fun of my strategy. So in the beginning of my YouTube channel 8 months ago, I made a video that's like, this is my plan to learn day trading. Baby steps, try to get to break even first, not think about payouts, get to break even and then go from there. And then like a month later, I heard on Top Step TV Hogue talking about that exact thing. I'm like, okay, that's confirmation. Meanwhile, other people are like, why are you using a systematic approach? It doesn't work. You can't use an RSI divergent strategy. Chat's telling me everything. My best months was following my rules to the T, locking in gains, trailing, locking in my winner, following my rules though to the T, copy trading all my accounts, one trade a day. And that month I was picking up extra work. I was working, doing tree work, which was something I was willing to do. I hadn't had a normal job in a long time. And I started doing some tree work and stuff. I'm like handy. I know how to build and carpentry and stuff. And I started doing tree work just to go all in on my YouTube channel and my prop trading. So no shame to working hard to follow your dreams, I think.
I agree.
And so meanwhile, while I was doing that, I was waking up to do the London session and then going to do tree work.
Hustling, bro.
And meanwhile, I have an employee in Costa Rica. I'm
because someone's running
all.
the farm, right?
Yeah. And this is a whole other story. I could tell so many more stories about this in betweens, but it's so random that I got stuck in Florida because of jury duty.
Really?
Yep. And then I got out, and then they put me back on the next month, and I stayed. And then Top Step TV wanted to have me on. And so I stayed longer for Top Step TV, and I had good internet there, so that's why I started streaming.
There it is.
And all because of this weird jury duty.
And then how did you end up coming to the seminar?
Dude, it's kind of weird. I swear, it was late at night.
Oh, here we go.
I'm kind of dreaming, I'm thinking, and I have this kind of like realization that I gotta do trader meetups. I'm like, I don't care if one person shows up, I'll post tomorrow. I'm spontaneous.
Yeah.
Luckily I didn't. But I'm like, well, let's meet up at this bar. We're having a trader meetup, Luna Trades.
Yeah.
And then I see Joey Morgan, shout out, post advertisement for the webinar, and it had clicked to me so hard that I needed to in-person, real-life trading, actualize it, make this a reality, make this real to me. And I knew I had to do it. And I knew I loved your podcast to see real traders, people you've interviewed, like Brian Shannon, right?
Shout out VWAP.
And Chris Cady.
And Chris Cady, yeah.
Some of the ones that stand out to me
he speaks in cryptic code, so I got to have him on again. Yeah. So you saw those, and then you were like, all right.
I've watched your podcast.
And you're like, I'll fucking go.
I didn't know about your trading.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but even in the seminar, you're in the testimonial video. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes.
And in that testimonial, you were like, I didn't really come here to learn how to trade necessarily. It was more for the, the psychology, the process, the entrepreneurship stuff, and the community. So.
Yep. And I felt like, and for one, I've been trading way better since it. I
Really?
still had my ups and downs.
Yeah.
But I had a sense of just feeling like inspired afterwards to keep pursuing it and just keep
Well, I think it
going
makes
harder.
it so much more real. You see other people at different points in the journey. You can be relatable. You know, you're seeing it in person. You hung out and had drinks with everybody and you talk with everybody. It brings everybody closer together. And you see like the difference between a really good trader, I think, and a shit trader is sometimes just a couple of decisions. Good traders are a couple of bad decisions away from tilt. So back to you for a second. The tilt is kind of an issue that you've been working on.
Yep.
The best month you said you were busy picking up other work, kind of keeping yourself off the desk. So would you say like the less trading you do, the more money you make? Do you feel that way now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Knowing when to not trade. It's always those days I'm feeling a little off. I'm tired. Like, I have a lot going on. And now running the YouTube and
You don't
stuff
say.
too. You know, like,
I think you got the most going on of anybody I've had on the show in a while, bro.
Really?
Yeah, dude, you got a lot
and
going
I know
on.
it comes out when I speak because I'm thinking about so many different
Oh, dude, I don't know how you
aspects,
manage all of it.
but-
I wouldn't be so worried if I had a farm in Costa Rica and I was just chilling in Florida. I'd be like, what if my trees catch on fire?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Literally.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you keep it together. So with all this going on, what are your trading hours now with the prop stuff? Because I'm sure we got prop traders listening to this. What would you say are like the go-to hours? Because you're streaming and you're trading live, but I know you might take trades off of stream too. So what are you really seeing the most profitable time of day?
For me in the morning. So Rip started at 8 in the morning for a long time. So I started getting on with him and I was realizing I was missing trades.
Pre-market
Yep.
trades.
And so I started doing that. And then the tree work was really leading to me going earlier for my stream and no one else was streaming.
Got it.
So my stream was picking up. I started with no one watching it.
Yeah.
And it naturally grew.
Yeah.
And then so I stuck with those hours. And so lately I've been starting at 7. I'm starting to push it back. Now I'm like 7:30. I have more subscriber count. I'm not chasing those hours as much, but really having no one else on in those morning hours really helped my channel, I think. And also
definitely.
streaming during like Thanksgiving, huge
Because no
boost.
one was streaming?
Yeah, like P-Dubs came on my stream during Thanksgiving and donated money, and I instantly got like an extra 500 subscribers. Like little
Wow.
moments like that. Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's funny,
little
I had never
tidbit
watched
there.
him before.
No, that's an interesting tidbit. Stream when no one else is streaming, like on holidays and stuff. That's interesting to think
Yeah,
about.
work when no one else is working, I guess.
I
something
know, but
that.
like, dude, it's so hard. Like, we take off on, because like, we stream on ASFX TV, so people got to pay to come to see the streams. We take off on holidays and stuff. Like, we don't stream pre-market on there. We only stream a small window of time. I feel like I lose and win more inconsistently when I trade pre-market, when I trade Asian session.
Yeah.
I win more consistently in New York session. Do you find for the way you trade, there's a better time?
I think it's always been changing. Like I said, my
Really?
most profitable months, I was locking in one trade a day. Maybe that had to do with it. Maybe it was the time of day, but it was early. Like
So you're hitting a
6 to
pre-market
7.
trade, be done.
Like 4 to 7, I was streaming.
And then be done.
And then be done.
I mean, that's not bad.
And at that point, my rules were to lock it out. Shout out SW in Rips' Discord was helping me, one of the crushers in there.
Yeah.
And he had given me a few little tidbits of advice. So things that stick with me. When someone tries to tell me how it is, I don't listen at
Of course,
all. I'm
no.
a contrarian in
But
that
if they
way.
ask you good questions
But-
and make you think about it, maybe you do.
He pointed out a few things so bluntly that
did
I
he
just
say?
stuck with it.
What did he
Like,
say?
You're taking too many trades. Take less trades. I'm like, okay, I'll take one trade a day.
Right.
Well then,
Yeah.
I'll show you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it worked.
Yeah.
But so I've had ups and downs when it comes to my consistency, when it comes to times of days trading. I'm constantly managing it and changing it. Like lately, I was doing bell to bell pretty much because I was getting more than 1,000 views.
Yeah.
And I'm building my community, inviting people. I have a free but private Discord, so people who stick around my stream for a while, I try to get them in there eventually.
That's good.
And so I kind of building my own little mini trading community. And the way I kind of think about it, like I'm so hesitant to talk about strategy and stuff because I'm not quite there yet. Like
Right.
I feel like there's some people probably like you who could be at the destination and be like, over here, I'm going to shine the light. Come
Sure.
this way,
Sure.
Marco.
Right. Yeah.
Polo. And
Right.
then I feel like where I'm at now in the journey is like, I'm an adventurer. I have these experiences from my trading. And also like I've read all the books. We're not talking about any of that, but I've constantly been studying throughout these years. I've logged
course.
thousands and thousands and thousands of trades. I've handwritten journals I could have brought too.
Yeah.
And so I've been walking the talk, so to say, and I feel like I have imposter syndrome, but I can say that, I've been doing it. I brought my tax statements.
You've definitely
or whatever.
been doing it, bro.
So I feel like my YouTube is really about accompanying like other traders. That's what I think the appeal is. People seeing that I'm in a similar place to them, and they see someone who's willing to do what it's going to take to get there. And I know there's like certain moments, like being here right now, guys. I know I'm going to make it. I know I'm going to become a very profitable futures trader.
Well, you've been investing.
Dude.
You've been investing in yourself and your business from the jump, from the first business that you had. You've been an entrepreneur, so you know that mindset of like, I know I'm going to make it is an entrepreneur's mindset. The scared mindset never even becomes entrepreneurial. They listen to their parents and their family that wants them to be safe or whatever it is, and then they settle and they don't take risks. But you're a risk taker. So here's an important question. You know your payouts are coming, but you said a couple of times you have different accounts for different strategies.
Yes.
You're tracking everything.
Yes.
So what strategy is most profitable for you?
So the last few months, IB breakout, initial balance, breakouts.
Which isn't even until 10:30.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting.
And not trading the failed auction. I don't know why people love to say failed auction only when it comes to initial balance, not when it comes to support and resistance. I don't understand that. But someone in my group was teaching it to other people. Mm-hmm. And of course, they ended up they were teaching in the video channel, the IB breakout, and while I was streaming. And then they take everyone off. They go do their own thing and take everyone. I sat in for one session. He didn't want me to share his secret sauce that he was probably making up about his experiences of. It was just a basic IB breakout. So I started trying to emulate it, and it actually became blindly. I'll just tell you right now, my only rule with it is 5-minute close and open outside of IB.
See, I'm not a big believer in keeping strategies secret. I actually the way I trade is for free in my free course. So but because at the end of the day, bro, I can tell you with a fact, I've had over 10,000 people watch the free course. I can guarantee you, I'm going to say for sure more than 5,000 of them have not taken a payout yet. I took 2 payouts last month. Payouts are what matters most. So there's so many different strategies, so many different ways to skin the cat. I can literally put the strategy in your head. That doesn't mean you're going to execute
Exactly.
it. That's the big thing in trading.
Yep.
Do you think that people, not to derail for another second here, but do you think people overcomplicate trading?
100%.
Okay, because this is where I'm on now. I'm driving over here to see you, and I'm thinking about, because I know how deeply you think about trading through your journaling and stuff, and I'm like, he's got to have the same perspective on me. The more I trade, the more I journal, the more I learn my edge, the more I get payouts, the more I realize everyone's overcomplicating this. Because it's a probabilities game. You're looking for certainties through your systematized rules and all this when there aren't certainties. And it's about embracing the probabilities. What are your thoughts?
I 100% agree. I have the contrast of my crypto trading, no strategy. I tried in the beginning. I had the checklist thing. MACD, RSI, all the things, EMAs, check, AAA plus setup, okay, go. And that didn't work. What worked was just getting in sync with the chart and starting to flow with it, take some L's. I start taking wins, put on the gas. And so with my futures trading, though, I found that I thought I could relate that to day trading. It didn't work. I was just blowing accounts. My monkey brain clicked in, my monkey mind, I'm click buttons. And what was working, though, was being disciplined, following my rules, dropping down to 1 trade a day and copy trading were my most profitable months. I had a month of 2 losing days, one of my best months, copy trading all 5 or 4 of my XFAs. And then I had someone in the chat explaining some other strategies. I tried to add their confluence. I had a bad month. And then I went back to doing it my other way, which was kind of back to the checkbox strategy. I was using an RSI divergence on a 2-minute chart, which I forward test. I never had back test it. So I forward tested for a month in my bed with my laptop, taking every trade, no matter what, no confluence. I boiled that down to a strategy, and now I started adding confluences. And that was my plan to learn day trading in my video. You can go find it now from 8 months ago. And so what I found there was following my strict rules was avoiding the things that were actually losing me money. I don't think it was the best way to make money, but it was protecting me.
100%.
Locking in the win when it went up more than 5 points or whatever the things were, and following that system, waiting for my entry. The other day, I gave back that $700 on that account that was ready for a payout. And it was because I didn't wait for my candle to close.
Got it.
And I had my entry, but then the candle kept going up and it invalidated my entry, and I just didn't wait for the 2-minute candle.
That's it. I got smoked on a trade the other day because I was waiting for a pullback to VWAP. I got in before it pulled all the way back. When it ends up actually pulling back to the VWAP and I'm in drawdown, it smoked the VWAP and went right to my stop loss.
Exactly.
I mean, getting in early, this is where I think people get confused. They'll hear you made a bunch of money trading crypto. They'll hear you doing well in prop firms, and they think that means you're inevitable or you're never going to make mistakes. You're invincible to mistakes. No, I get in early. I make mistakes. But you know what I've realized? When I make those mistakes, now I identify them quicker. Like you were just saying you do. You pick up on them quicker and you can course correct, right? Oh, the market's not working for me. Size down, slow down. Market is working for me. Size up, foot on the gas, right? So you start to feel that more. And I think that's changed my big red days to break evens and small red days, which then leads me to payouts. So with the win rate you have at 60, maybe a little bit higher, sometimes percent. You think that's the ideal sweet spot? Because traders always want to know the statistics of like, what do I need to have to take payouts? What would you say to that?
Yeah, looking back, I actually questioned this a lot after the seminar and hearing the different takes on it.
See, that's a compliment. I'm glad you questioned stuff after the seminar. That means we had good conversations.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so certain things were clicking. So like I've had these different strategies to actually answer that question. Maybe it's the only question I'm actually going to answer fully. So I'm trading different strategies in different accounts, and that way I do my journaling, but then I can also track the progress. The proof is in the pudding in the accounts.
Absolutely.
And so on my channel, so if someone actually wants to learn how I trade, just come watch me do it live every day on my channel. I don't really need to break it down here. I'll happily go over it too on live stream. But I've been restricting certain strategies. So when I try something new, my general rule is do it in a eval. If it wins the eval, do it in the combine. I mean, sorry, do it in the fund day. Do it in the XFA or whatever.
Yeah.
And so right now I'm trading top 1 futures. I'm trading Top Step. I'm trading Tradeify. And those are like my main accounts because I don't like the trailing drawdowns. But then I'll just stack random accounts. I'm trying some TPT accounts.
Try some Apex.
And those Apex accounts and whatever. I don't really care at this point. But at first I was very only going to do Top Step. It was the reputable ones. Right. I was chasing the fire drills. Shout out fire drill.
Oh, I forget the fire drills, bro. I forget about. They don't do them anymore. No more fires anymore.
And also brought people together. I was like telling everyone to go get in the chat and tell the chat, and that probably helped kind of build the community.
That
for
was
me.
Peak Top Step TV. I think Top Step TV's taken a notch down since then. Personally, they don't have as many good guests. No comment. Yeah, no comment.
They didn't have me on. They were supposed to have me on, and they didn't have me on.
Why did they pull you?
They put me. Last minute they said, "Oh, we have someone else that's really some author coming on." I'm like, okay, I get it. And then they put me back on the schedule, and they did it again. And that's actually though led me to do my own thing, man. My goal at that point, my goal at that point was to get on Top Step TV, and I start to make some recaps and learn how to do my camera and stuff. And then I ended up doing my own stream, and now I made a business from my stream. That is my new main business now. Is doing my YouTube channel.
Great lesson for everybody that's listening an hour through. Like, you are an entrepreneur in today's day and age as a trader if you're going to be on the internet. And a lot of the time, Top Step TV wants people on there for free. And when I told them I wouldn't do that, they were. We did have a deal. The deal ended, and I didn't want to continue without being paid. They never called me again. So I think you have to know your worth. Yeah. I hate people. I love you. I hate everybody that streams for free. I'm waiting to convince everybody like you and Zach and Tanner. Stream for free now. You're building your brand. But long term, if you want to keep doing it, you can't make it free because you're too valuable. Yeah. You have to know your worth. You can have, literally, bro, 100 people paying you $100 a month, and you got a serious business right there streaming. And your trading is worth more than $100 a month. And that's what I charge. I got guys I know that charge $150, $200 a month to watch them. And then there's guys like Mark Minaviri, who's a market wizard. I think he's like $750 a month to trade with him or something like that. So there's real money in that. I think the streaming for free is good when you're trying to build your brand and initially get your name out there, but you've already kind of done that. So as our relationship grows and we do another part 2, when you start taking a bunch of payouts and everybody hears about that, I'm going to keep pushing you, bro. I'm going to keep saying, you got to start charging for your streams. Even I heard trades like Matt does it through YouTube. Like you have to pay for his YouTube stream, right?
Like the membership.
Yep, that's an interesting idea too. Stuff like that. Because what are you doing giving people free sauce for? You know what I'm saying? How valuable is it when you get it for free? Other than air, what is super valuable that is free?
I think people have to there's an energy exchange for everything.
100%.
So right now, like building my channel, I've been trying to do everything for free as long as I can.
Agreed.
And what I've been giving back is that full transparency. So I do my account. Shout out to anyone who shares their actual account numbers.
Yes.
Because you never know what people are trading off stream. And there's some respected traders I know who will even say it openly. Like I asked someone recently, like, oh, why don't you show your account number? Well, my off-stream trading doesn't really represent the type of trading I want to show people.
I love that,
which is facts.
It's facts, but you shouldn't be like that.
And I feel that too. I sometimes will take a trade off screen.
100%.
And I do not want to admit it.
Of course,
I don't want to tell anybody.
That's what I'm saying. We don't want to do that.
I might wait a few hours, and then there goes that Instagram post. I'm chatting. I'm in my Discord. I'm in the Market Clubhouse, and I'm guys. I blew up that account today. I can't believe I broke my rules, and so I made a point to always share my account numbers.
I don't blur anything. I show all of it.
Because
I took 2 payouts. I went through 2 accounts, so it took me 4 accounts to get to. I show all of it because I don't want people to have an illusion that there's perfect trading to payouts.
Exactly.
Do you know anyone that's taken a payout that's never blown an account? Every person I know that's taken payouts has lost accounts.
Nope.
No one is a perfect batting 100.
Yep.
It's impossible. Yep. So just embrace the failure.
Yep.
What would be your tips to yourself when you first started trading? Like if you go back to 2017 Luna, crypto Luna, and then even if you want to combine it with like futures Luna that's more recent, what would you say to that version of yourself if you could whisper a few things in his ear?
treating it as a business would have maybe prevented some of my big losses, which have always put me back a lot. You know, when I could have been $1 million trader, those big losses, even though those made me who I am. So it's hard to say. Really, I mean, it's so hard to give trading advice to myself because it's really been about the journey for me. And for all I know, I say I'll never stop trading, but that's not how I am in my life.
No.
If I'm like all in, whatever I'm doing.
And then you stop.
Dude, I'm all in. So when I first learned about Bitcoin, I was reading all night long about how it worked and the blockchain and all this technology. And so really just follow your dream is what I'd say to anyone in life in general and to myself, because that's what has brought me the most happiness in those moments where following my dream resulted in something that I couldn't have expected.
It's great advice.
You know?
Yeah, it's great
And that's
advice.
not really trading advice, but I think treating it as a business.
Yeah.
And that's like, if I had treated my futures trading as a business from the beginning, I would have avoided those first $15,000 of losses, which right now I'm probably more like 20,000. I actually have just updated all my expenses, and I do my expenses for my stream and my trading, and I show that on my channel. So I had just updated that for the year. And so I'm probably more at like 20,000-ish, low 20s for what I've invested. And that's including some other costs I've invested in myself for education and stuff.
4 payouts away from break even.
Exactly. And so I'm like at this break even, or I'm at my trading right now is break even compared to losing those accounts. So what would have been way better for me is if I just bought one account and traded it slowly and treated it like a personal account. Because like my personal crypto, what's made me in crypto was my risk management. I never gave back my entire positions from 2017. You know, my portfolio. There were times I sold everything back into USD. But you know, that one time I was almost out, I scraped together 12K in my trading account and I ran it back up. So never lose it all. Never give it all back. Never put you in a position where you can go all the way back to zero. Because, you know, like I started off with putting $200 into Bitcoin or whatever it was. Maybe it was even $50. And that sustained my trading journey to this day. Never reinvest it. So the fact that I never got out of the game, you know, I think there's a better way to explain that.
Yeah, keep yourself at the table.
I kept myself in the game until I made it, you know, until it clicked, until even if it was getting that Uniswap airdrop, getting that meme coin luck.
Oh, dude, luck is definitely a part of it.
I was in the right place at the right time.
What do they say? It's when preparation and opportunity come together. That's luck.
I agree with that.
Or something like that.
And so, yeah, taking it slow and treating it like a business where, like, I realize now with my, like, farming business, for example, my costs are the difference of my making money sometimes.
Yep.
You know, so sometimes having less costs is the same thing as making money. Mm-hmm. And like for me, that could be living, you know, I got the cheapest rental car to come here instead of getting the convertible. Yeah. So like treating it like a business and going really slow and enjoy the ride.
It's great advice.
Yeah.
I think too, like the farming and everything else you do in your life, from the music to the like homeopathic, all natural stuff, nothing there in music or there in any of it, it comes like that. And I think that the patience that you've probably learned in those other areas has probably translated well into trading, right? So while you give the advice of go slow, you also are doing stuff outside of trading where you have to go slow. Trees don't grow in a day.
Yeah.
What do you want to do, right? So I think that a lot of the stuff that I've learned from talking with you, like off-desk stuff, impacts you and actually makes you a better trader. So I'm super excited, bro. Like I said to you before we filmed the podcast, I think you're in the same position that Zach was in a way, not exactly metrics wise, but like same feeling it gives me of like, oh, this guy's going to be bigger in a year and then even bigger in 3 years if he stays with it. So I'm glad that we got this on tape today.
Nice.
When are you going back to Costa Rica? What's the plan?
15th.
And then are you there for a while?
June 15th. No, yep.
Indefinitely.
Yep. You have to cross the border. Right now, I don't have my residency still.
Oh, so you have to.
So I have to go every 6 months now. It used to be 3 months, so it's pretty chill. I've always traveled a lot too, so
that's
it's
easy
fine.
for you.
Yeah.
So then what will we do for part 2? Maybe I'll come to the farm and I'll bring the podcast studio and we could film it at the farm. That would be an epic trip, bro.
I've already been dreaming that, and I want to do it like a streamathon
At the
live,
farm.
like Hacker House
All you need is a
style.
Starlink.
Yep. Yeah, I'm one of the 2 people in my neighborhood who have fiber, so we're good to go.
Dude.
Yeah.
I got an idea for you that I'll talk to you about when we're finished here. That's similar to what you're talking about. So, bro, thank you for driving.
Dude.
Thank you for making this happen. Listeners, make sure you check the links in the description. We got Luna's YouTube, Twitter, everything. Instagram, we'll put it all down there so that way they can connect with you. Are you on TikTok?
I made one. I haven't posted on it yet.
Right.
I need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
all the things. And Kick, whatever. I need to do it all.
the main thing is the streams on YouTube.
Yeah. YouTube.
Every day?
Every day, Monday through Friday.
I tune in sometimes. I be throwing cash at you.
I see you in there.
I'm always in there. I pop into everybody's stream in the morning now, bro. You, Rips, Nick Stewart, I pop in everywhere. Everybody that's streaming for free, I throw money at him and I'll talk shit sometimes. Like PW was streaming the other day and he gets up and he's got the wide angle and he walks away and I threw $5 or $20 in the chat and I was like, put the wide angle back on. I want to see them calves or something like that. So I'll just go in there and just get everybody going. But thank you for coming, bro. I appreciate you. Dude, you're the man. Listeners, thank you for staying all the way through. We appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe. Check out the links in the description. I'll see you guys in the next episode.